She said she was going to try, but she wasn't sure.
Okay, I think we'll start, and she's able to come in because we're 3 minutes later.
Okay.
Let's Tony, if in your discussions, you think we should wait a little longer?
Probably not.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, everybody's here. Hi, Josh. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, 26 July 2021. It is 7:03 p.m. Marcy, would you please read the statement?
Yes. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public and the press on January 6, 2021, and on July 22nd, 2021, and was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Auberger,
Here.
Councilmember Chili,
Here.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Present.
Councilmember Weller, Council President Shortway.
Present. I invite everyone to stand and salute the flag. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance to the flag
to the flag
of the United States
the
of
United
America,
the United States of
and to the
America,
republic for which
to
it
the
stands,
republic for
one
which it
nation,
stands,
under God,
one nation,
indivisible,
under
with liberty
God,
and justice for all.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. I've been asked by the administration, and please correct me if this still stands, that we're going to remove the introduction of ordinance 21-20 tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so that will be removed for tonight and addressed at another time. Okay, so we'll move on to public comments. These will be limited to 3 minutes per person. If the person would be kind enough to state their name and where they reside, it'd be greatly appreciated. May I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion to open the floor to public.
To the public. Second that.
Okay, Andy's got the second, John's got the motion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Seeing no one. The floor is now open to the public.
Just putting a timer on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have Mr. Giordano.
Okay, and I did say this is only for agenda items only. If anybody wants to speak at this time, at the end of the meeting, we'll have, it's just open comments. So go ahead.
Yes, my name is Hugh Giordano, 57 Argyle, Blackwood, New Jersey. I am here today as a representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW. The UFCW is a national labor union that represents 1.3 million hardworking families, and we are also the official labor union that represents cannabis workers from seed to sale, both adult use and medical, under the guise of the AFL-CIO. We're also working in conjunction with our union brothers and sisters in the building trades, who will be doing the retrofit and the build out of these facilities. And we represent the workers from seed to sale. I just wanted to call and say, in regards to the ordinance allowing cannabis, I wanted to say thank you to Vernon Township for having leadership, for creating good living wage jobs. These jobs are going to come with educated workforce, folks with degrees in chemistry, botany, horticulture. We even have pharmacists that work in the facilities that we represent here in New Jersey, in the medical facilities and the retail spots. So I want to just say thank you as a labor representative for doing so, and for creating these good jobs. I also want to suggest that when allowing these facilities to come in, specifically the larger scale operations, not necessarily the micro licenses, that you follow the City of Bayonne's leadership and create a merit-based application system. So that way, one, you can know who's coming in, know their labor standards, their environmental standards, security standards, local. They even have a merit-based points for local ownership as well. So it's a way to also allow local ownership. So the City of Bayonne did a good job with the merit-based application system, and I think it's a good idea. because we need good employers. We need to know that they weren't polluting out in Colorado or fighting workers' rights in Illinois. Like we need to know these things, and Bayonne did a good job of that. Also, it's good. It takes pressure off the council. I know a lot of councils are under a lot of pressure of picking and choosing. A merit-based system makes it so that you don't have to pick and choose winners and losers. It's based on their credibility and on their business operations. And Bayonne saw that as well. So just something I want to say. So once again, on behalf of the AFL-CIO, on behalf of the UFCW and the building trades, we thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
I see no other hands, Council President.
Okay, seeing no members of the public wishing to come forward, may I have a motion to close the meeting to the public, the floor to the public at this time?
Motion to close to public comments regarding the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anybody abstaining? I don't see anyone, so we'll move on to resolutions then. Resolutions 21-175 to 180. I'm just going to read those by title, and we can do them as a consent agenda. And of course, any council person is invited to pull it, anyone from the consent, and we can talk about it, or if you need to abstain from it. Resolution 21-175, resolution authorizing approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract to the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the Old Coach Road Pleasant Valley Drive project. This resolution authorizes the submission of a grant application and the execution of a grant contract. Resolution 21-176, authorizing the cancellation of capital appropriation balances. This resolution authorizes the cancellation of capital appropriation balances. Resolution 21-177, Chapter 159, resolution requesting approval of revenue and appropriation, amending the 2021 budget as a revenue and appropriation of $2,160,028.11. This resolution amends the 2021 budget as a revenue and appropriations. Resolution 21-178, authorizing change order number 1 of contract for proposed improvements of guide rails on Pleasant Valley Road with Road Safety Systems LLC. This resolution authorizes a change order. Resolution 21-179, authorize the award of a required disclosure contract with Specialty Automotive Equipment Company for procurement and installation of automotive lift at Department of Public Works. Resolution 21-180, authorizing change order number 1 of contract for proposed improvements of guide rails on Breakneck Road Phase 2 with Road Safety Systems LLC. This resolution authorizes a change order. Therefore, can I have a motion to accept those resolutions by title?
Motion to approve is read.
Second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Can I do a roll call?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine.
Vice President Orberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili. I'm sorry. Did you say yes?
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Okay. Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, number 7, 2020 annual audit. 2020 annual audit. This resolution approves the 2020 annual audit. May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-181?
Motion to approve resolution 21-181.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Orberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
Yes.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 21-182, Corrective Action Plan 2020 Audit. This resolution approves the 2020 Corrective Action Plan. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 21-182?
Quick question, please.
Go ahead.
Who is going to be taking these actions, the responsibility for these actions that were outlined here? Is it going to be the CFO or the BA?
So ultimately, I'm the one responsible for writing the corrective action plan for all the audits for the township. So I wrote up this corrective action plan. The first finding, which was a segregation of duties, that has been going on for years with Vernon Township. The only way that we can avoid that is hiring one single individual to handle all cash receipts in the township, but also not be associated with any tax receipts. So that would require another full-time position. I just don't think that the benefit outweighs the cost on that. I think we have a very adequate segregation of duties the way it stands right now, and we have cross-trained a lot of employees. So I'm comfortable with that. The auditor is well aware of that. They do know that it's better than what it used to be, so that's a positive. It's just never going to go away until we do that hire. The second finding is with regards to the tax title lien receivable ledger. The tax collector does need to look through some receivable liens because something was backdated in the current year to a prior year, and it needs to be researched to find out exactly why it was backdated, and it needs to be corrected.
Very good. Thank you for the explanation.
Mhm.
With that, I motion to approve the ordinance 21-182.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Vice President Auberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
yes.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Council President, I'd just like to remind everybody, there is a group affidavit that needs to be signed for Resolution 21-181. I have 2 copies of it that need to be signed. One goes to the state, one stays here in Vernon. So if everybody has time, if you can stop in and just give me 2 minutes, a signature. Thank you.
Welcome, Morrison. We'll move on to number 8, introduction of proposed ordinances. This is just for introduction. Ordinance 21-18, ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, approving the redevelopment plan for Block 404, Lot 4. This ordinance approves the redevelopment plan. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 21-18?
Motion to introduce 21-18.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Vice President Auberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
yes.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 21-19, capital ordinance providing for improvements to township properties by the Township of Vernon in the County of Sussex, New Jersey, appropriating therefore the sum of $60,000 and providing that sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the township. This ordinance provides improvements to township properties. May I have a motion to introduce 21-19?
Before we do, just Chuck, I'd like you to have you explain to the public what this is all about, because this is about gas tanks and where we're going. And the supporting documentation wasn't given to us until late today.
Mhm.
So I think for the benefit of the public, they should know the whole story behind this and why we're doing this and why the extra $60,000 over the budget.
Certainly. Earlier this year, we were informed by Bob Baldwin that as of April 1st, 2022, he would no longer be able to fulfill the contract that we have with him for providing fuel for township vehicles. We had gone out with a request for proposal back in 2018, and he has been fulfilling that ever since, but he was informing us that he was going out of business as of that date next year, and that the township would have to seek their fuel elsewhere. The most realistic way to approach this was to obtain our own tanks for that purpose. Back in 2018, prior to going out to bid and creating the contract with Mr. Baldwin, we had looked into pricing at that time for what pumps would cost. Now, these are gas tank pumps that would be above ground, not below ground, and would have both regular gasoline and diesel. When we got a price at that time, it was 206,000. And we did not act at it at the time because we thought the better way to go was through Mr. Baldwin, since the pricing that we were getting was very good and would not cause the capital outlay to create our own set of tanks. We thought, however, that he might stay in business longer than he is now deciding to do and ending it as of next year. So we are now looking into putting in our own gas tanks for the purpose of servicing our vehicles. We asked for a proposal on a state contract for a set of tanks from a contractor that had initially given us a proposal back in 2018. We were not able to get an accurate new amount from that vendor for the state contract pricing, as he had to obtain it from overseas vendors that he deals with. So what we did was, in preparing for our capital budget for this year, we guesstimated what that might be. We added, I believe, approximately $40,000 on top of the price from 2018. And it wasn't until approximately 2 weeks ago that we received up-to-date pricing on what that same proposal would be that we had gotten in 2018. And it is considerably more. It was another $78,000 increase. It was $78,000 increase, not the 40 that we thought. And in addition, our township engineer informed us that to do the site work that would be necessary to prepare for this contractor to come in and to do the installation of the tanks and pumps, that we would need another $20,000 preparation, and that most of that work would be done by our own DPW. So that being said, we knew that we were underfunded for this project, which is an absolute necessity as we approach April 1st of 2022. As it is, the ordering of the tanks can take anywhere from 4 to 6 months. And if we were able to move forward with this, which we need this measure in order to do it, we would not be able to get our order placed until next month. And once the ordinance, if approved, would be ready, and we would then take another 4 to 6 months to get the tanks that are needed here. So we wanted to try to prepare it. It's not easy to do work in the winter months, so we wanted to get as quick a start as we can with this. The contractor has explained to us they are able to do a lot of the preparation work ahead of time while the weather is in our favor in the fall months, once we have signed the contract, and that when the arrival of the tanks finally gets here, we can then put them in place and have them ready for the spring of next year. If anybody has any questions about what I've just gone over, please feel free to ask questions.
What's the total cost of it all?
The total cost on the contractor side is what I sent you today, which is $286,000. We need another 20,000 additionally for work to be done by the engineer and by our own DPW to prepare the site for the location for these tanks, which will be on our property over near the DPW building.
I'd just like to add that I also looked at this very close with Chuck and our engineer. And I must say that the estimate that they made initially based on the 2018 pricing was realistic and was good, very reasonable. What we've got here is what I call a COVID penalty, which people all around our nation are suffering, in the sense that, number one, a lot of the domestic suppliers are stood down, are in a sense, laid off their business, laid off their employees, closed down their businesses because of the way things were. And now this contractor here is forced to get these products from overseas because a lot of our domestic suppliers have not been able to come back as quick as they could in terms of getting material, in terms of getting workers. In addition, if you purchased anything, whether it's a refrigerator or anything else, you know the prices constantly go up and the lead times are way out. So I just say that I really think that they did a good job, because one of the things that I like to do is that I'd like to look at why are we in the position that we're in, and could we have prevented it? Was there some error in our reasoning and what have you? And I concluded that they did a good job. It's just the penalty that we've got here.
Can I have a motion to accept? Unless, John, you have comment?
Motion to accept.
Second,
Second that.
roll call, please.
Vice President Auerberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
Yes.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I said previously, ordinance 1- been removed. Again. Ordinance 21, ordinance of the Township of Vernon County of Sussex State, New Jersey, amending Chapter 5, Article 10, entitled Department of Public Works, to create the position of Assistant Director of Public Works. This ordinance amends Chapter 5 of the Township Code. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 21-21?
Can we ask questions first? Is that,
You want discussion? Absolutely.
yes. What would the salary be for this position?
I have a record of this if I can
Sure,
talk.
go ahead, Danelle.
So if this gets introduced and approved, I believe the salary range we have is between 70 and 95. Right now, a senior public works repairer, I think tops out at around 65. So the next one up from there is the assistant supervisors, which we're starting around 68. So this one would be at 70.
So this would be a department head for,
No, not a department head. This position answers to the director of public works, the department head for the DPW.
So are there additional costs? Because if you're bumping everybody up, you're going to be adding a position as a laborer wherever you take it from, correct? So there would be additional costs other than salary.
benefits, right?
It would have a domino effect unless you're not going to replace on the lower ring, right? So assistant supervisor says moves up to supervisor, you're bumping everybody up, that leaves a hole down below. What would that cost be? Expand by one.
Just to explain, we do not have supervisors. We have the position of assistant supervisor right now, and we have the director. We do not have anything in between those two titles. You're right that there would be a bump up where one of the assistant supervisors would be moved up into the assistant director's position if we move forward with that. And then we would have to backfill the assistant supervisor's position.
And why do we feel this is needed at this time?
I think we have worked towards this in all of our departments where we have a clear number two who not only is capable, but also has certifications. We've done that or are working towards that in the tax office, the tax assessor's office, the finance office, the clerk's office. That's one of the best things you can do is have a clear certified person to be your number two in the event that something happens to your current department head, and to make sure that business goes on as usual. In this particular case, this particular certification, this particular position requires a certification of a certified public works manager.
So
And did we have a budget, did we have this in the budget, Danelle, or would this be extra? Or Chuck? Do we know?
Have Donnell answer that question. She's muted right now.
Okay.
Sorry, I actually did answer it and then I realized I was muted. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm like,
I
wait,
do.
did she just ask again? I just answered. Yeah, so there is enough money to cover it in the salaries and wages line item for the road department. That's where it would be charged.
Okay.
Why couldn't we just bump it up to supervisor? Because when I read the DOP, you almost have the same credentials. You still would be supervising. And I had concerns over assistant director needs 3 years of managerial experience. And I don't believe any of our assistant supervisors has managerial experience because managerial is not supervision. And I know they don't have a formal education, but they do have experience as supervisors, assistant supervisors. Why don't we base it just to a supervisor, then down the road to a couple of years from now, move it up to assistant?
Can I explain that one?
Absolutely.
And you might be somewhat familiar with this, Council President, is that with what I just explained before, you have our director, and then you have the next person down is an assistant supervisor. And the people that you have in those positions, some of them have been here. At least 2 of them or 3 of them have been here at a minimum of 3 years. And what happens, as it does with a lot of other types of departments, you have to step up when the director, and again, this is a rather flat type of system that we have, would not be unlike if it was a police department where you have a chief and you have maybe 3 or 4 sergeants. It's very somewhat similar, so that you'd always have some of your sergeants, in this case, assistant supervisors, that assumes certain managerial duties while performing his supervisory duties. So the way we look at it is that you are already having these people perform such duties in terms of what they do with their current title as supervisors. So like I said, we're trying to keep it a kind of a flat situation, but since some, or if not all, are performing some managerial duties as well, that we don't think that is an issue here.
I make a comment.
Absolutely, John, you have the experience.
Well, so we know in the past that we've had a person in the supervisor's position, and that person was out on the road for the director, making sure that the jobs were being performed, things were needed to facilitate that were being done, safety checks being done on the guys out in the road mowers. The biggest thing is looking for problems while they're small before they become big and expensive. And the town in the past, he's making everybody do more with less. They saw fit to not have that position. Now you have the DPW front office has been down one person there. So you have a director that's trying to make up for having office staff that's down, doing more in the office. He's not getting out to see what needs to be done just because of that. And I really think that the job needs to be filled because you have less to work with. You have less manpower than you have in the past, and you have to make sure what needs to be done is getting done. And it's going to get the director another set of eyes out there for safety, to try to see problems before they crop up, where we have a washout that now is going to be more expensive because of engineering, material, and whatnot of that nature. So we're actually just trying to catch back up from where we were years ago.
We had a supervisor at that time, not an assistant director.
It was the title of supervisor. At one time, there were many titles, and the town saw fit to try to condense, because the state had condensed down to a laborer, road repairman, senior road repairman assistant, and a supervisor.
I think that John adequately articulated some of our concerns, and maybe Chuck or I are not doing it as well as he could do it as he's doing it here. This is part of our succession plan. We've got to we've got a very flat organization. And when one person leaves, for whatever reason, we want the next person to be able to step up and to have had that kind of experience. But I think that the one thing that John said is that I would use that we need someone to be able to look at this organization and understand that we're not likely to be adding a lot of more people. So therefore, we've got to work smarter in addition to harder. And John talked about the fact we need somebody out there looking at some things. You let something go and you got a problem that could cost $15,000 because you let it go. Now it's cost $30,000 or what have you. But this is really what we're trying to do.
Two questions I have to go along with that is, one, will we be interviewing for this position or are we looking strictly inside? That's the first one. And then how many people are we down currently on the DPW workforce that we need to fill those positions?
It would be a position that we would be hiring from within, not from the outside. And as far as being down people, we have been replacing as we have had some people retire. However, we would probably be looking in 2022 to add some additional people to the workforce, since we now have a if we decide to move forward with this position, that we would likely have to backfill, as we mentioned before, the positions that would create a one-step move up. Not unlike when you do have somebody that gets promoted to lieutenant, then you have to replace a sergeant, then you have to replace a senior patrolman, something of that nature.
And this position is an office position. They're not out on the road. They're just, not just, but
It's a management position. However, the person is, as John explained it so well, it is a position where the person is out and about doing a lot of the legwork that the director would not have to do, but at the same time would have other responsibilities to assist the director in the office as well. So some of the duties that we currently have that he takes care of, he could assist him with that, whether it be purchasing or just, planning out budgets and things of that nature.
And then going back to Danilo, you mentioned that we have room in the budget to be able to fit this in.
Yes, we do.
Okay, very good.
for this year, right? But then what about next year? Like, we don't know, right? I mean, I know we know, I mean,
Yeah, so, I mean, everything, every next year's budget's contingent on this year's, right?
right.
So,
But it's
so yeah, I
70
mean,
to-
ultimately,
yeah,
we would plan to have room for the other.
right.
Yeah.
So it's 70 to 95 plus benefits. The cost.
Well, so if we're looking in-house, you would just look at an increase of what that person is currently making.
Okay.
Right
then
now,
we have to
if you're
backfill.
hiring to backfill, which is what
Right.
Council President Shortway said, then you'd be looking at like a starting salary, right? Because even if you move up, you would be looking at a starting salary. And I don't believe that we're looking to backfill fully until later in the year, Chuck. I mean, I think Chuck has more information on that.
Yeah, we don't have an exact timeline if we do this promotion, when it would be. And knowing that we have some projects that have already been pre-planned and are moving forward that we have to get done before the weather changes in November. It's a matter of whether we could do this before that time to see and see whether or not there would be any impact if we were to take and move a person up into this position. If it seems like that it may be a difficult promotion to make it prior to the end of this year, then we would look to do it in 2022.
Any other comments? Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion for 21-21.
Is there a second?
Second, the ordinance 21-21 for introduction.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Auerberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
No.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
I'm going to vote no. The reason being, for the record, I believe a supervisor is a better fit at this time. I would support a supervisor position, that bump up, and not to a full assistant director. So my vote is no.
Okay, I have a tie vote.
So the motion, the ordinance is not introduced.
Okay, moving on. Ordinance 21-22. An ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, creating Chapter 255 of the Municipal Code of the Township of Vernon entitled Filming. This ordinance creates Chapter 255 of the Township Code entitled Filming. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 21-22?
Motion to approve 21-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Auerberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
Yes.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 21-23, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, creating Chapter 350 of the Municipal Code of the Township of Vernon entitled Long-Term Rentals. This ordinance creates Chapter 350 of the Township Code entitled Long-Term Rentals. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 21-23?
Motion to introduce ordinance 21-23.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Auerberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
Yes.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 9, public hearing, reading of ordinance 21-16, an ordinance amending, revising, and supplementing sections 330-4 titled Definition, section 330, Schedule A titled Permitted Conditional and Accessory Uses and Structures, and section 330-1644 titled Offense Uses Prohibited of the Land Development Code of the Township of Vernon to regulate the cultivation, processing, sales, and distribution of legal cannabis within the Township of Vernon. This ordinance amends, revises, and supplements the Township Code. May I have a motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 21-16?
Motion to open the public.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anybody abstaining? Seeing no one, the floor is now open. And again, just reminded, please state your name and your residency should you wish to comment.
I have no hands up, Council President.
Okay, thank you, Marcy. Seeing no members of the public wishing to come forward, may I have a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 21-16?
Motion to close to the public, ordinance 21-16.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in
I got it.
favor? Got it? Okay, all in
Yes.
favor, aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Is anyone abstaining? Seeing no one, floor is now closed. Therefore, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance 21-16?
Mr. Council President,
Yes, sir.
if I could, before the council votes, I'm very pleased at the fact that after hosting a public hearing on this ordinance, the Municipal Land Use Board has provided the council a written decision communicating the fact that they found the council's proposal to regulate legal cannabis within our town to be consistent with the master plan. This ordinance permits the operation of 4 types of cannabis commercial enterprises in our town. That being cannabis cultivator, a cannabis manufacturer, a cannabis wholesaler, and a cannabis distributor. It does not permit the operation of adult use cannabis stores in any areas of our town. In that written decision, the Land Use Board also made the recommendation that this ordinance be amended to permit adult use cannabis stores in our town. Discussions that I've had with a host of the Land Use Board members who voted on this revealed that they chose to go on record with this recommendation because they strongly believe that allowing adult use retail cannabis stores in our town will be an overall good and practical economic use of municipal land that could bring significant benefits to our town residents. However, since allowing adult use cannabis stores in our town is something that we collectively, the council and the mayor, decided not to address in this specific ordinance, we should move forward with the second reading of this ordinance as it is currently written. The Land Use Board's opinion concerning the town allowing adult use cannabis stores is one that has been echoed over the past several weeks by a host of individuals and organizations. And I believe that you all know it's an opinion that I strongly share. And therefore, additional deliberations on this issue between the mayor and the council will continue in the same logical, in the same calm, in the same detail, and in the same respectful manner as this mayor and council has dealt with all things during this past year and a half plus. The public will hear more from us as a collective group on this matter in the very near future. But for now, I strongly recommend that the council pass this ordinance on the second reading as it's written. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other comments before we get a motion? Okay, therefore, may I have a motion to adopt 21-16?
Motion to adopt 21-16.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Allberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
No.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, ordinance 21-17, ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance 20-18, establishing salaries for certain non-union employees. This ordinance amends and supplements the township code. May I have a motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 21-17?
Motion to open up the public comment on ordinance 21-17.
Second.
Tony, great. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Seeing no one, the floor is open. Same thing, please. If you care to speak, please state your name and residency for the record.
No hands, Council President.
Thank you, Marcy. Seeing no more members or no one desires to speak or wishes to come forward, may I have a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 21-17?
Motion to close.
Who's the second, Tony?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Seeing no one? We're good. Floor is closed. Therefore, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance 21-17?
Motion to adopt ordinance 21-17.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Allberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chili,
Yes.
Councilmember Pittsger,
Yes.
Council President Shortway.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we'll move on to number 10, public comments limited to 3 minutes on any topic. Please note, public comments are limited to the 3 minutes as I said, and please state your name and residency for the record. May I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion to open the,
Second.
Tony and John, all in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? See no one. The floor is now open for comments, limited to 3 minutes. And again, please state your name, and residency for the record. Thank you.
I have Andre?
Yes. Hi, this is for anything, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Andre Stolte and I'm in Highland Lakes. And I want to ask the council and mayor to do everything in your power to push back against any future lockdowns or mask mandates or social distancing or the draconian medical apartheid in the form of vaccine passports that may come down the road. In whatever way possible, should they try to be implemented. This all started yesterday with me, and I don't watch TV, but yesterday I had, I guess I'll call it the unfortunate experience to hear the TV, and I was aghast at the fear campaign coming over it was nonstop. The unvaccinated are extremely susceptible to the Delta variant, the variant, every channel ad nauseum. And the difference between my resources, what I read, and what's being presented on the TV is night and day. Therefore, I think it's essential that our council become as informed as possible with sources that present unbiased writings, truthful writings, and take time to thoroughly discern these untruths from truths and really just read more sources. We just can't afford another shutdown, and that looks like it might be coming. I don't know. A 4-year-old child has spent 1/4 their life with a mask on. Think about that. I recently smiled at a few children. I was unmasked and they were not, and they had no response, but they froze like a deer in the headlight because they could not discern if I'm a helpful person or a harmful person. So having spent nearly 1.5 years seeing masks' faces, the child's emotions and nervous system, frankly, in a state of confusion. Oh, my cat's down here. There's likely to be lifelong damage. And from what I see, many adults are permanently fearful of others now. We were told to lock down and mask up until there's a vaccine, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, right? Well, now there is a vaccine and most people have taken it, and that should be the end of the story, but it's not. A new wave of fear is being deployed in the form of a variant, and that unvaccinated people are spreading it. But is it true? How can we really know? Unfortunately, we're subject to great media censorship and disinformation, such as the disinformation regarding the use of the highly effective and inexpensive ivermectin and hydrochloroquine for the COVID treatment. Right now, we need sources that have honesty and integrity to inform us. We must find them. We have an obligation to find them. There's very real vaccine injuries and deaths. In fact, more have died and been injured from these current vaccines than all vaccines combined, but that information is really not on the TV, but it doesn't make it untrue. And there's just been a lot of untruths about the hydrochloroquine as being unsafe, and it's just absolutely not true. So I ask council that we can't afford another lockdown and all the hardship it brings, the depression, the increased drug use, suicides, especially in children, the financial impact, the business is gone forever, homes lost. Minority businesses, by the way, have been hit the hardest through all this. There's great sites and articles that can make a wonderful difference in your thinking and can also help you to help people dispel the fears they have, mostly unnecessary. I think it should be a priority for council, for everybody at this point. Read America's Frontline Doctors, Children's Health Defense, with intelligent and wonderful humanitarian Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And there's the work of Dr. Pierre Corey, Professor Sukhdrag Bhakti. And you cannot have equality in information until you hear his work and writing on the variant. And listening to former Pfizer Vice President Michael Yaden is essential. And there's many others. And I would love to send you some links and hopefully read them and read them thoroughly, read them often. And let's dispel some of this fear and not go through this again. It's so unnecessary. That's it.
Thank you. Marcy, anybody else?
I don't see any hands, Council President. I do have some emails that I have to read.
Okay, please do.
The first one is from Sean Mazer, 5 Sleepy Hollow Road. He says, I am a taxpayer of Vernon as well as a veteran, master free mason, and a national accredited architect. I am astonished by your poor leadership, lies, deceit, and slanderous behavior that I have personally witnessed and been a victim of. Mr. Shortway, your abolishment of the Historic Preservation Commission, as well as your sinister ways and historical track record of racketeering, is completely detrimental to Vernon taxpayers. We have had more than enough of you, Mr. Shortway. Your reign of terror needs to end. I hereby make the motion of no confidence in you, Mr. Shortway, as you are an embarrassment to Vernon taxpayers and should be ashamed of your evil actions. We, the taxpayers of Vernon, are sick and tired of your trails to nowhere and your cancel culture actions. You need to resign effective immediately. That was from Mr. Sean Mazer. The next email I received is from Elaine Coliani. She's requesting the following to be read on record. She's a resident of Vernon, would like to make a motion of no confidence in the matter of Council President Harry Shortway. It is in my opinion that Mr. Shortway is incapable of serving the residents of Vernon Township and has failed at his obligations to the taxpayers. On numerous occasions, he has not addressed valid concerns related to township residents. The next one is from Jordan Lehman. A resident of Vernon would like to make a motion of no confidence in Mr. Council President Harry Shortway. It is my opinion that Mr. Shortway is incapable of serving the residents of Vernon Township and has failed at his obligations to the taxpayers. On numerous occasions, he has not addressed valid concerns related to township residents. I have personal knowledge of his lack of leadership and deceitful ways. I am aware that pictures have been taken in windows at night by town officials. It is an issue that has been ignored and makes me feel unsafe. He has ignored serious issues and complaints taking place within the township and should resign immediately. I have been a registered nurse for the past 9 years. I hold myself to a standard to care for my community and patients within the scope of my license, and Mr. Shortway should be doing the same thing. It is disappointing to the leadership in this town to ignore taxpayers' concerns and only focus on their own personal matters. The next one is from Walter M. Marsico Sr., 48-year law-abiding, tax-paying resident and entrepreneur of Vernon Township. Upon ending his career as a synthesizing and analytical chemist working in the pharmaceutical field with Union Carbide Nuclear of Tuxedo Park, New York, and Hoffman LaRoche of Belvedere and Nutley, New Jersey, I founded a real estate development and building corporation developing Settler Notch at Vernon. Through my 13-year tenure developing Settler's Notch at Vernon, I have been confronted at a number of planning and zoning boards, as well as multiple building and inspector departments. While many trying and difficult situations presented themselves, most ultimately resolved themselves with positive outcomes. I have never, however, been confronted with a council led by an incompetent and self-serving group of individuals, as I have encountered in the past year under the direction of Council President Harry Shortway. Mr. Shortway apparently believes in government through cronism and is evident in the selection of Charles Volker as business administrator. Mr. Shortway has been quoted as saying, "The taxpayers are our bosses." Mr. Shortway, contrarily, however, does not believe his own words, since the council's hiree, Charles Volker, and sub-hires A. LaRocca and R. Westenberg are incapable of performing their duties without violating statutes, ordinances, and law they are duty-bound to hold and enforce while always adhering to the letter of the law. This is certainly not in the best interest of the ultimate bosses, i.e. the Vernon resident taxpayers. The Dacronian form of government under the aforementioned township officials led by Mr. Shortway are most interested in fines, penalties, and raising taxes to fulfill budgetary shortfalls, which have led Vernon Township to the brink of fiscal disaster. Highlighting the above in conjunction with numerous specific infractions and specifics on which are documented, I am herewith entering my vote of no confidence against Mr. Harry Shortway. Further, I am mandating that Mr. Shortway immediately tender his resignation as Vernon Township Council President. The next one is from Kevin Thomas. He says he has a business, Mr. Thomas have a business entrepreneur in Vernon Township for many years. It has come to my attention lately of some very serious matters taking place within the township, none of which are favorable. I, as a business owner and operator, take these matters very seriously and greatly affect the operation of my business. I would like to place on record July 26, 2021, a motion of no confidence in Mr. Harry Shortway. Your lack of ability to effectively handle matters related to residents is an embarrassment, all while our taxes are being raised. You continue to hire inspectors and officials that lack the knowledge and professionalism that we need in this town. I am recommending that you resign immediately. We deserve someone who addresses the needs and concerns of our residents and business owners. You have pushed this township backwards, not forward to a bright future. Thank you for your understanding. Those are the emails. And I do have some hands up now, Council President.
Just so you know, Marcy, if their email was read, they're not speaking. They had their 3 minutes. They voiced their opinion as required by law.
Okay. I have Martin O'Donnell.
Hello, Mayor and Town Council. How's everybody tonight?
Good evening, Martin.
Martin O'Donnell from Sussex. I just wanted to say I've sat here and listened to these letters be read, and I would say that, you know, these people are putting in their vote of non-confidence or whatever they called it. But I would say that the rest of the town put in their vote of confidence when you ran. And looking at the sheer number of votes you got, I think you got a lot of people backing you in this town. And don't heed to the Facebook bullies. Okay, that's really all I want to say.
Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it.
I have Peg DeStassi.
No.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Peg DeStassi, 35-year resident of Vernon. I'm calling to speak about the ordinance. I'm sorry, it's not an ordinance. Yeah, ordinance 20-21, I believe it was, applying the money from the relief fund to the municipal authority. Last year, a compendium was released for local leaders in government to help them to establish a recovery framework and to set 9 concrete ideas for rebuilding. This suggested that the public officials create a team of business leaders, social service agencies, corporate heads within the township to be tasked with aggregating and supplementing existing recovery plan, setting goals, recommending investments, and tracking the results. Most importantly, it recommends that the funds be used to stabilize the government and to establish long-term strategies to improve the future of the prosperity of our township. I am opposed to this money being turned over to the MUA because that is only taking care of a small element of this town. It is not addressing the entire town. It is not addressing more than 90% of the residents of this town, because less than 10% of the residents are on the sewer system. So the funds being allocated to that particular element is totally unfair to the rest of the township. Most of us do not benefit from the water and the sewers that take place in town center. So I'm recommending that highly that you look into the compendium that was put out and follow it. Create a unbiased, community involved, structured program instead of the MUA and the mayor and the town council president making a decision that it impacts all of Vernon. This is very, very improperly handled. That money does not belong all being addressed to one unit in this town. There are too many things that need to be covered. Secondly, I would like to address the statements that are made about former Mayor Shortway. I am in agreement with them. I hadn't planned on saying this, but now that I've heard the people speak, I believe that Mayor Shortway has taken his private pet projects and used Vernon Township to fund it. And he is putting our town into a terrible position of long-term debt and long-term unnecessary. Most people in this town are not going to be out walking these trails. We need roads. We need other things in town. More importantly, we need good business management. And this has not been accomplished under the leadership of Harry Shortway over the last 6 or 7 years. So I will agree that I do not believe Harry Shortway is doing a good job. And yes, Mr. O'Donnell, you are correct. Everybody voted him in, but he has shown since he was voted in that he is not and has not the best interests of the residents of this town. He's totally focused on his own personal goals, which is creating a trail system that this town does not need. So he has, since he was elected, proven that he is not worthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gustafsi.
I have Walter Marisco. I'm sorry, Marsico.
Is it junior or senior?
I-
Senior read you read his email.
I don't know. We can ask him, I guess.
All right. If
It
it's
is not
senior,
senior, it is junior, Walter
okay,
Marcy,
junior.
and I will be speaking. I would like to address a statement that you made, Mr. Shortway, at the last council meeting on June 28th. Quote, "The taxpayers are our bosses." Well, I'm glad that you finally admit that. I know you don't believe it. With that being said, and as your boss, of course, I'd like to make a motion of no confidence in you, Mr. Shortway. It's time we, the people, the taxpayers, the community, all of us, hold our government more accountable for their actions over the course of the terms in power. You are not put in this position to do whatever you want. You're here for us, elected by us, the taxpayers, to serve us and assist us as needed. You do nothing but worry about trails and more trails, and you make that very, very obvious. I've reached out to you on numerous occasions to fix this mess caused by Mr. Westenberger and Ms. LaRocca, and you continue to do nothing. The harassing behavior by Ms. LaRocca, once again, you do nothing. You say nothing. I guess you're under the presumption that silence is golden, right? Not in this case, Mr. Shortway. I'm stating this motion of no confidence in you, where I, along with many others, believe you are inadequate to carry out your position as council president. You fail to carry out your obligations to the taxpayers of Vernon. And I feel your position as council president is extremely detrimental for all of us as taxpayers within the township. And for you, Mr. Volker, don't you have a pensionable salary of $149,807 and you collect $115,000 plus from us as taxpayers to sit at a council meeting and eat and text? Mr. Volker, you attacked my job for no reason whatsoever. You continue to disregard what Mr. Westenberger is doing. You don't respond back to anything. You don't answer anything. He has violated my civil rights and you just sit there. You allow someone working for the township to creep on my property at night. Was that you creeping on my property and taking pictures at night in the dark in my windows when all township employees are gone for the day? I think you may be the creep, Mr. Volker. Or was it Miss LaRocca, who I had to remove from my property for trespassing? You see where I'm going with this? All of you here tonight allow this garbage to go on and you do nothing but worry about these ridiculous, stupid trails. Not on my watch. It's not going to happen. I'm going to hold each and every one of you accountable. Even you, Mayor, who do nothing. You sit there in silence. You don't respond to phone calls, emails. You should resign along with Mr. Volker. Take him with you. You're nothing more than a puppet to Mr. Shortway. You criticize your residents who have legitimate issues and complaints with township officials, yet you do nothing except discount the validity of the complaint that we made. The fact that you don't have the common decency to return my phone calls, my emails, me reaching out to you, says a lot about you. I did not create this mess. You got to remember that. Mr. Volker, Mr. Westenberger, you two single-handedly created this mess. You can look down if you want, but you know you're guilty of it. You let your ego get the best of you, you and Mr. Westenberger, until the state stepped in. I assure you, I will hold all of you accountable for what you're doing to me and what you're doing to other taxpayers. I would also like to say on record to you, Mr. Mayor, and I hope you're listening closely. When I start my construction on the second phase of my home, which I've been delayed because of the bull crap that's going on with your officials, you better back off your egotistical officials and cease and desist with the continued harassment I have been receiving. I am telling you and everyone else present here tonight, I will not allow this anymore. The ongoing harassment of my construction project for no reason. I will continue, and I promise you, I will continue to expose each and every one of you. And how about Mr. Zielinski, who hides in the shadows behind the computer screen? Why don't you explain to the tax-paying residents of Vernon how you allow these sloppy officials to conduct business? Why don't you explain to them how you charge the township of Vernon astronomical fees, which we absorb in our taxes, for a witch hunt after me? I think it's time we conduct an audit on the costs incurred by the township attorney.
Mr. Marsico, your time is up. I'm sorry.
This is what you do. Don't mute me, because we'll
Thank
have-
you, Mr. Marsico. 3 minutes is up. You've had your opportunity.
I have Jesse Palladini.
Good evening. My statement is to Councilman Harry Shortway. And listening to Mr. Marsico, I guess it would be appropriate to say that you people just bully and harass. That's all you do, bully and harass. Mr. Shortway, I ask you tonight to resign from your position on the Vernon Township Council for a myriad of wrongdoings, incompetence, and lawlessness. It is my belief and the belief of many that you are a dishonest man, Mr. Shortway. We have heard you chronically lie to the public, and you completely lack transparency. You have raised our taxes more than any elected officials in Vernon in 2 decades, and you have squandered hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on wasteful things, and have also unlawfully misappropriated taxpayer funds. Mr. Shortway, you frame people, you falsely accuse them, and then you set out to destroy them. You have done this to me multiple times and to others that I know of. You have ignored due process and you have abused your power. Now you have passed on your mantle of deception and underhandedness as our former mayor to our current mayor, Howard Burrell. The man whom many thought they knew as having integrity is now your puppet, and you are his puppet master. I would include Mayor Burrell in this censure and vote of no confidence, but I want you to have your moment alone, Councilman Shortway. Mayor Burrell will likely have his hour at another time. The citizens of this town who have watched you closely for months and have seen you for what you are and what you do have spoken tonight, and they will continue to speak. And for these reasons, I would like to call for you to be censured, and I call for a motion of no confidence, and I ask you to resign tonight, Councilman Shortway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Palladini. Next.
There's been like 12 people who
I see no other hands, Council President. Oh,
You sure?
I'm sorry. I
Keep
have,
on speaking.
I have Beverly.
Good evening, Beverly. Just unmute yourself, please.
Is that better?
We hear you. Thank you.
Okay. I would also like to submit on record tonight a motion of no confidence in Council President Harry Shortway. He has done a lot of damage regarding, and I will say the address, 16 Jenny Lane. And I would like to know who sent the voyeur over there at night to take pictures in a bedroom window. Am I to be afraid of somebody having pictures in my bedroom window? This is despicable. And everybody's sitting there, especially Mr. Volker, whatever he's doing at his desk, not even paying attention to anybody. Why don't you have in-person meetings? You don't want to look people in the face because you know it's the truth, what they're saying? I mean, this is getting absolutely ridiculous. And what has gone on in 16 Jenny Lane is criminal. And you, Mr. Shortway, were the head of it all, that you couldn't reel in your people as to what they were doing. And don't say you don't know what was going on. You've been sent several emails, as Mr. Volker has been sent, the mayor's been sent, and everybody in the building department, and not one response. I mean, how rude is that? I find it extremely rude. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that terrible?
I have Christine Dunn.
Hi, I'm Christine Dunn, 24 Cedar Terrace, North Vernon. I just want to say it is time for in-person meetings, and then I hope that everybody that's here will raise their hand and tell the council that it is time for in-person meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn.
I have Andre. I believe Andre already. Oh,
I think she was first on the list.
yep. Jennifer Barber.
Hi, it's actually Jennifer Lubliner, but my name always comes up with my middle name for some reason. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm
we
sorry.
hear you.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Okay. It's Lubliner, Lubliner.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. First, I just wanted to thank the council for all the work they've done in concerning the cannabis ordinances, and I know we still have some work to do. I do still believe that we need to allow retail sales, and I know that I've made that expression clear at the last meeting. But I would also like to say that it's a little bit disappointing for me to hear all of the outrage tonight. So I would like to apologize for that. I know a lot of people have some frustrations, and I know that I don't always agree with Mr. Shortway, but I do feel like he does have the best interests in town, even if you don't agree with how he expresses that. And it's a little bit just, I don't know what the right word is. It's disheartening for me to hear all of this outrage directed at a public meeting to one person. And some of it I know is for facts to not be true. So I just wanted to state that I think it's very disrespectful for a lot of the comments that have been made. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I see no other hands, Council President.
Any more emails?
None before 6:45 today.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Motion.
Motion to close.
Second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anybody abstaining? Seeing no one, the floor is now closed. Therefore, can we move on to the mayor's report?
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, Mayor.
At our June 28th council meeting, in his council comments, Council President Shortway discussed the bright outlook that he saw for Vernon Township. In my comments tonight, I want to reinforce his optimism and send a strong positive message to both our town's longtime residents and the host of new individuals who have recently chosen to make Vernon Township their home. I want them all to know that my optimism about the future of our town has grown considerably during this brief 1.5+ period that I've had the honor and privilege of serving and representing the people of Vernon Township as their mayor. Without a doubt, I believe that Vernon Township is strategically positioned to make a major economic and civic move forward. Let me share with you just 3 of the most recent pieces of evidence that has fueled my optimism. Number 1, over the past 1+ year, the confidence in our town and its future has been strongly demonstrated by the time, by the effort, and money that commercial enterprises have invested in opening of a new outdoor sports store, a new beauty boutique, a new vintage record store, a new female-preneur pop-up shop, 2 new outstanding delis, a new creative insurance company, and a new unique candy confectionery store that doubles as a convenience store. B, in the opening on the new ownership of one of the town center's favorite and iconic restaurants on Church Street. C, in the final stages of the completion of key commercial projects, such as a significant exterior and interior renovation of a building in the heart of the town center district, which will house a leading New Jersey real estate company that provides both commercial and residential real estate services. And D, in the plans to build a car wash, to open a specialty carpet store, to open a Thai restaurant, to rebrand and reopen a health fitness facility, to open a community-based applied behavioral analysis center that works with children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, as well as other behavioral disorders, plus plans by a national brand name firm to completely rehabilitate and update a town center strip mall and to add a convenience store and a fueling station. Number 2, on the residential side, the confidence in our town and its future has been strongly demonstrated by the fact that almost all of the existing homes that were available for sale in our town have been sold. And at the end of June, the Building and Zoning Departments reported to me that on the last 7 days of that month, they granted approvals for the building of 7 new homes on 7 empty building lots. Number 3, on the financial side, just last month, Moody's Investors Service, the renowned company that ranks the creditworthiness of borrowers, announced that after a thorough evaluation of Vernon Township's financial operation, it had reconfirmed the strong AA3 bond rating that they awarded Vernon last year. According to Moody's rating guide, the bond rating of AA3 is awarded only to those organizations that they consider to be, quote, rated as high quality and very low risk. In addition, this year, Moody's awarded our town 2 specific AAA ratings, which are the highest ratings given in 2 key financial categories. Moody's AAA ratings were awarded Vernon in the 2 financial categories of 1, the excellent manner in which we have managed and maintained a sufficient fund balance. The fund balance is the amount of funds that the town maintains in its savings account to cover the cost of those unforeseen, unknown, and unknowable expenses that pop up from time to time. B, they awarded that rating in the area of the excellent manner in which we have managed and maintained a sufficient cash balance. That is, the amount of cash that the town maintains on hand to pay its normal operating expenses without having to take funds from its savings account. As reasons for these outstanding ratings and their improved financial outlook for Vernon, Moody's favorably considered, number 1, Vernon's recent years of building its fund balance. Again, that is the town savings account. The rebuilding of the town's fund balance was started on the former Mayor Shortway's leadership. And I have worked close with the current council to continue this rebuilding process. 2, the recently implemented plan to replace town vehicles and equipment in an efficient and fiscally, financially responsible manner. They also gave us that rating because of actions we have taken to pay down the town's debt and to create a pay-as-you-go system for most capital expenses. They also cited the fact that the recent passage of our short-term rental ordinance, which will not only contribute to making our town safer, but will also bring in income that will help in our ongoing battle to reduce the municipal portion of tax increases to Vernon residents. They also cited the outstanding support of our town by its largest taxpayer, Mountain Creek. Under the leadership of Joe Hessian, Mountain Creek has not only consistently paid their taxes in full and on time, but they have also consistently paid their annual sewer obligation ahead of time. For example, this year, they paid their 2021 sewer obligation of $763,000. They paid it in April, 8 full months ahead of time. And of special note is the fact that Moody's rating for our town was positively influenced by the Mayor and Council's plan to create amenities that will serve as positive magnet to attract potential consumers and commercial enterprises to our town. Let me quote from Moody's June 24th, 2021 credit opinion on Vernon. This is what they said. To improve the attractiveness of the area, the township is working on a town center project, which will add new amenities in the community, such as walking trails, a biking trail, a pump track, and upgraded road improvements. All of these results are indeed great news for Vernon Township and for its future. This optimism that I feel and this very positive view that I see for our township would not be possible without the great team of municipal employees and the collective group of positive, focused council members that I've had the good fortune of working with. And I thank you all. The specific task of getting the financial aspect of our municipal operation in order has not been simple and it has not been easy. Something that I and this council has been working on ever since we came into office together. I am lucky that the efforts and actions of former Mayor Shortway laid the groundwork for me to be able to have success in making progress towards the achievement of this important objective. One of the key things that he did was to hire an outstanding municipal chief financial officer in the form of Miss Donnell Bright. CFO Bright's sound and creative financial leadership, her specific planning, her specific organizing, her specific directing, coordinating, and controlling of the town's financial operations played an indispensable role in our town being able to earn the great financial evaluation that we recently received from Moody's. I'd like to thank you, Donnell, for a job well done. And finally, I close by addressing a matter that was communicated by Council Vice President Allberger in his comments at a council meeting last month. The outstanding Vice President Allberger communicated a concern on behalf of the Vernon Town Fire Department that specific town center development plans, which might impact the Vernon Fire Department's property, were being planned without their input. That concern came up because what they told Business Administrator Volk and I is that this is what has happened in the past. To directly and to face address this concern, during last week, Business Administrator Volk and I visited the Vernon Fire Department's firehouse, where we assured them that no such plans were being discussed or formulated. And under my leadership as mayor, before the town would formulate any specific plans or take any specific action that might directly or impact the Vernon Fire Department's property, any such plans or actions would be first discussed and coordinated with the Vernon Fire Department. While this is not really a big thing, it's not a major issue, it's an example of the seriousness and the respect with which this mayor and this council takes the concerns of all of its volunteers. Mr. Council President and council members, that ends my meeting comments for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Greatly appreciated. So we'll move on then to council comments. John, would you like to go first, please?
Sure. I direct this question to the mayor and the BA. We just completed the online auction for all surplus equipment at the township.
That's correct.
Was McAfee's ladder truck 445 sold at auction?
Unfortunately, no.
I would put forth that the mayor and the BA would take and see if the Sussex County Fire Academy could make use of this vehicle, being it was not sold at auction. And it's been sitting for the last 2 years, being back and forth between McAfee's property, the Vernon DPW yard, and before it becomes winter again, see if they can make use of it. That's a recommendation that I would make. Number two, now that we had passed ordinance 21-16, I think it would behoove this council to revisit it and amend it to include retail cannabis in the sections of town, somewhat like Newton has done. And my third thing is, are we under the American Rescue Plan looking to seek funds for our essential workers? And that's just a question I have. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Andrew?
Actually, I have about 3 things. One is on this cannabis ordinance. I did some investigating on the dispensaries, and on July 12th, I toured a dispensary in Maplewood, New Jersey. This was arranged by the New Jersey League of Municipalities, where I met with other council people from other towns, the mayor of Maplewood, and other officials to hear how this store in our town is working and how the relationship with the town works. There's a strong relationship. The town, the people, and the government are making sure these types of these facilities are well managed and controlled. I also toured the facility and the operations for this dispensary. I learned a lot about how the operation, the security, and the cannabis retail worked. It was very secure, very safe, and very professional. The process you have to go to enter the facility is secure. You must enter the reception area where you're greeted and you have to provide ID. There's nothing there other than a reception area. Then you have to enter through a locked door to the showroom where you can view the products on display in a secured locked case. And you have to then speak with consultants to assess your needs. The security cameras in the facility are extreme. I counted 43 and they told me there were many more than that. So I have to say that they had that well covered. Also, we looked at the delivery of how product is secured and locked in vaults, so making that process safe and also secure for anything. And during my visit, it taught me that the business model that they have is very good in control. It's higher than what I see for alcohol. And the plans that the state is putting in for the controls for the safety and security of all, I was impressed by that. So based on the tour of the medical retail dispensary and discussions on how this firm could handle adult use retail cannabis in the future, I think Maplewood would be a very good model for Vernon to follow when developing our laws and zoning for retail sales. So as John had mentioned, I support the development of a separate ordinance, though, with the controls and business partners addressing the zoning of retail cannabis that are safe, secure, and well above the requirements of the laws in New Jersey. I think it's pretty important that we do that. On the business development side, some concerns I have here is growth in Vernon is difficult to do, and we are making it more and more difficult for small business startups to work in this town. We lack a process, a business packet of all forms that require us to get started. And we lack the support to help small businesses get the right advice, the support, and guidance. I've been discussing this with the chairperson, Jennifer Lubenliner from the EDAC committee, to the root causes of this frustration, and it's a paralyzing issue. So I'm urging the mayor and the BA to put some focus on developing the processes and forms that can help pave the way for businesses to start up. There's been too many complaints. There's frustrated people, frustrated citizens that are finding it not easy to do business in town. And it's prohibiting Vernon from growing our ratables with the lack of a clear process. There's conflicting communications and business packets for business startups. So I therefore suggest we develop a working group or an investigation on how we can streamline this, develop it, improve the process, the customer service and general operation of the building, the permitting and the zoning processes, so we can better serve the public in an informed and efficient, structured way that communicates the right process the first time. The other thing I wanted to make note of is, it's been mentioned a couple times, but maybe somebody can address when will we go back to chambers? What's the situation? What's holding us up? I know there's some work being done in the chambers, but do we have a timeline? And finally, for a community update, Mayor, I don't know whether you mentioned this or not, but this week we have a biking event coming up, Chai for Life, that starts, I believe, at Crystal Springs. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that is on Thursday. So be aware there will be a lot of bicycles out headed for Port Jervis up into that area and coming back around through Pine Island on all day Thursday. So be aware of that. That ends my comments. Thank you, Town Council President, my fellow colleagues, Mayor, and most of all the public. These are my comments for tonight.
Thank you, Andrew. Tony, you're up.
Sorry, I had to unmute. So I took notes tonight. First, I want to say, I agree with the mayor. Danelle is a huge benefit to our town and very lucky to have her. I think she has put us on the right path, doing a lot of really good things financially and forecasting, looking towards the future. So feel very lucky to have Danelle. Number two is to Walter Mercado, I think your name is. I would like you to call me. You can reach out to me by email. I would like to speak to you. I'd like to get your side of the story. I haven't heard it, but I have heard now for the fourth time, people come to me with some complaints about the building department. So I'd just like to hear your side and, not sit here not responding. Number three is, Andy, you mentioned it. You said you toured the retail store and there's security cameras and lockdown and security. I mean, to me, that's not something I want in this town. It doesn't seem, you go to, you're saying liquor stores, you don't go to a liquor store and you're not going through a vaulted door. So I'm just going to disagree with the whole retail store thing. And number 4, all the people that called or emailed didn't call or speak directly to Harry about your vote of no confidence. I agree with Martin. Most people vote, was elected mayor. He was elected to the town council. I think most people stand with him. I disagree with him sometimes, but I definitely think he tries to do what's best for our town. I know I have been very frustrated in the past with public comments myself, because you're frustrated and you come here with questions and we all sit here and stare at you. And the same thing with the Board of Ed. You go to those, you're very emotional, you have an issue and you don't get answers. I agree. It's extremely frustrating. But I think all of us, including Harry, including the mayor, if you reached out to him, he would answer you. He would communicate with you. But he said it many times. This isn't a debate. You call with your comment. I mean, you say your comments, but we are not, I guess, allowed to respond during that period. But I think he is very approachable, and I think he would answer your questions. And just because he may not agree with you, that doesn't mean, he's wrong for our town. So Harry, I have all my confidence in you.
Thank you, Tony. So I guess I'm up, and I usually don't respond to calls for resignation, but I'm not resigning. If I ever resign, I'll resign on my own terms, not because of a few people that disagree with me. And I'm going to address those people tonight. In brief, elected officials also have rights. This township history consists of countless frivolous and malicious allegations against elected officials motivated by vindictiveness, retaliation, and narcissism. Efforts to facilitate injury to reputations and personal livelihoods of members of the Republican Club, council, mayor, and citizen volunteers. These past nefarious actions have cost the Vernon property taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars over the last 2 decades. My political opponents over the last 2 decades have willfully and knowingly engaged in unethical conduct with purpose of promoting or facilitating injury to reputation and lost wages to myself, family, and other elected officials, members of the Republican Club, and employees of Vernon Township. Countless allegations of lawlessness have been made against elected officials by one disgruntled citizen with a few of her minions in support over the last 20 years. I recall only one minor charge against an elected official that was substantiated. The principal architect of the many frivolous allegations I speak of has cost taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars on legal fees and Oprahs in support of her witch hunt. Please recall what happened on March 25th, 2019. Mr. Major threatened to sue the council due to his displeasure with the vacant property ordinance. In addition, on January 27th, 2020, I stated the following. Sean Major, a resident of Neptune, New Jersey, who through an LLC owns property in Vernon, received appointment to the Historical Preservation Commission that year. Booked and taking kickbacks. In addition, his messages to Councilwoman Weller read as follows. Like I said way back, distance yourself from Harry. He's no, and he said the word effing good. Mr. Major then described the council as useless and ignorant. Mr. Major's actions and personal attacks are contrary to the mayor's objectives stated on January 1st, 2020. I called for Mr. Major's resignation from the Historical Preservation Commission due to his baseless allegation and insubordination to the mayor's agenda. I emphatically deny receiving any kickbacks from any party whatsoever. Should Mr. Major believe that I took kickbacks, then he should have reported this to the Vernon Police Department, the Sussex County Prosecutor's Office, or the New Jersey Attorney General's Office for investigation. I suspect he did not. I am not aware of any such investigation of 1.5 years following these allegations. Mr. Major refuses to register his vacant structure with the township as required by our ordinance and owes the township approximately $9,000 for 2020 and 2021 registration fees. His allegations of criminal behavior, conflict of interest, and unethical behavior on my part are being fabricated in retaliation for refusing to exempt him from a lawful obligation. The false allegations of racketeering or RICO was a conspiracy to create havoc within the Republican Party and municipal government led to the change in our form of government that expelled the Republican Party. The lawsuit was filed for political purposes to change the Vernon Township form of government by causing dysfunction of municipal government and to injure reputations of persons elected or appointed to serve our community. Criminal and civil allegations against members of the Vernon Republican Club were investigated by the Vernon Police Department and the Sussex County Prosecutor's Office. The allegations were unfounded as a criminal matter due to a lack of qualitative and quantitative facts. Failing at the criminal level, the plaintiff's attorneys then filed a federal civil complaint where the burden of proof is less, where the standard is not beyond a reasonable doubt, but a preponderance of evidence. Again, the lawsuit was nothing more than an attempt by my political enemies to harass and intimidate members of the Republican Party and myself for our political viewpoints within our community in their quest for power and financial gain. The criminal allegations made in a civil complaint were not even actionable in a federal civil court. These charges were scandalous and were created to prevent my vote on issues contrary to the desires of a few individuals and harm the reputations of other elected officials and Republican Club members. The defendants, members of the Republican Club, in our reply, produced the entire copies of emails which established 4 distortions made by the plaintiff and his attorneys. As a result, the court threw out the RICO violations, finding no conspiracy, predicated acts, or any wrongdoing that would justify the plaintiff to be allowed to proceed with a RICO action. The court on its own also threw out the other fraud and conspiracy state law claims that were made by the plaintiff against elected officials and volunteers who are members of the Republican Club serving our community. The federal senior district judge who heard the matter ruled the following regarding RICO. The glaring fatal defect in plaintiff's RICO claims is that the plaintiff has not alleged and probably cannot allege the presence of RICO racketeering activity. RICO allegations were maliciously fabricated and appropriately dismissed by the federal court. The false allegations continue today in an attempt to suppress my free speech and service as an elected official to our community. Mr. Marsica, Jr. and Senior, should become familiar with our form of government under the Faulkner Act, so they both have a better understanding of administration and council duties. They should also review Resolution 20-246, resolution authorizing the township attorney to investigate the operations of the building department. They also should review New Jersey NJSA 40:69A-37.1. Council members are prohibited from contacting professionals and municipal employees. That is the law. Mr. Marsico, both by design or ignorance, failed to state facts. For example, A. LaRocca and R. Westenberg were not hired by the council. They were hired by another previous mayor and the present mayor. In addition, Mr. Volker was appointed by me in 2016 with the approval of the then council. He was again appointed by Mayor Burrell with the consent of the council majority. To Mrs. Lehman regarding her fear of pictures have been taken in windows at night by town officials, if she believes employees of the township have committed a crime or offense, she should report the incident to the police department, prosecutor's office, or the AG's office for investigation. The law is clear. Retaliatory conduct is actionable. If it is intended to punish the plaintiff for exercising his or her free speech rights and under circumstances, it would be sufficient to deter a person of ordinary firmness from exercising his or her free speech rights. The case is O'Connor versus the City of Newark. The Third Circuit Court has stated that the threshold for showing First Amendment retaliation is very low. Frivolous criminal allegations without substantiated or false facts to a law enforcement official can result in both criminal and civil liabilities to the accusers. On another matter, the Economic Development Advisory Committee requested a council liaison. I am not opposed to it, but believe it is not necessary. During my research, I discovered that the EDAC, for short, was created under our old form of government. I propose that we set up an EDAC committee with our current form of government under the Faulkner Act. My opinion is that the committee be driven by the township mayor for the following reasons. Council's authority under strong mayor government is basically advise and consent. Council members are prohibited from contacting professionals and municipal employees pursuant to NJSA 40:69A-37.1. Deal with employees of the department administration and other department solely through the mayor or designee. All contact with the employees and all action and communications concerning the administration of the government and the provision of municipal service shall be through the mayor or designee. Council approval members appointed to the EDAC as an ad hoc committee is subject to political opposition for consent. If the mayor decides he wants this ad hoc committee, he or she should be allowed to appoint those that he wants to advise him without council consent, because that could hold up his appointments. He needs a working advisory council if he so or she so desires. The composition of the members, I would say the following: mayor or designee, land use board member, township administrator or designee, and 4 members of the public. 2 or less council persons may attend an EDAC meeting and voice their opinion pursuant to Robert's Rules of Orders or answer EDAC inquiries. Council persons attending any EDAC meeting may advise the governing body of concerns, issues, actions at a council meeting. No formal liaison is necessary. I do not know the other council persons' opinions and will place this as a topic for discussion at a council meeting in the near future, so it may be discussed in public. That all being said, as of yesterday, we had 2 additional residents of our township complete an Ironman. It is grueling. I believe the swim is 2.3 miles. The bike ride is 112 miles. And after doing all that, they have to do a marathon, which is 26.2 miles. Kelly Brooks of our township did it, and our own council person, Tony Chili, completed. They are Ironmen. Congratulations. Well
Iron
done.
women, iron women.
I know, we always say women, we were having a discussion about that yesterday, but the title is Iron Men, but you are Iron Women, to be politically correct, but they haven't changed that yet.
No, it's an Iron Man. I'm okay with that.
So, congratulations.
Thank you.
We watched you and Kelly throughout the race, getting the updates, and we watched you come across that finish line, and very proud of you guys. I know how hard you all worked. I mean, see you guys out there, and so congratulations, job well done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So proud of you, Tony.
Thank
So
you.
very,
Thank
very
you.
proud of you.
I can't walk today, but
You got up to close the door a couple of times.
I know, not good though. It's not good.
Well, that being said, John, do you have any words?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is closed.
Everyone,
Okay.
please come sign this affidavit for me, please.
I will.
Thank
I'll
you,
do it tomorrow.
Marcy. Stop
Thank
by
you.
tomorrow for you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Bye
You
now.
too.
Thank you.